Um, I'm curious about these different life timelines or life plans. Like I'm
Mhm.
with Robert Swartz, and he spoke about that there are many different life plans we could have, and I think he referred to sort of the plan A, plan B, plan C, etc. And then sort of the intentional goal was to reach the highest plan. Now I might, this is my interpretation of what he said. So when you read other people, is that something that comes up in your readings when you see other people, that they have sort of potential plans and sometimes they can get stuck in the roundabout?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one thing my guides have made me kind of change wording around, and I think highest timeline is a beautiful word, but they almost show me that it implies like it's like releasing out of the body. It's like the highest. It feels like kind of perfectionism of like trying to be perfect. So they
Mm,
always say like what's either the purest timeline or the most expanded timeline of a person. I love the word
mm,
expansive because it's really you just opening your field. But what I've noticed with people I connect with who aren't very like conscious of their energy, right? There usually is only a couple timelines and I can predict their future very clearly. But the way my guides have facilitated my readings for people is I do not give them, I mean, I share future timelines I see, but what they're really trying to do is access and give modalities and practices. So when I do readings, it's really just their guides showing them all the things they need to start applying to their daily life to elevate them onto that highest timeline. Because I'm shown the vision of the lifetime they can keep experiencing if they keep moving the path that they're moving. And then I'm also shown the quote unquote highest timeline, the purest timeline. And then they give me the bridge of what they need to do. So for every person, it's very unique. There's a lot of work in different parts of their body that they need to do. And it's all fun as well. I want to make that clear. The modalities they give them are fun because with spiritual people, there's thousands of timelines I see with them. Like literally, it's almost like their lifetime isn't concrete because they get to choose in that presence energy. So what spirit always shows me is like, what can you do to access your power now, and that naturally is going to ulticate your highest timeline. Because if we're trying to like get somewhere that looks like our highest timeline but we're walking around with like loads of crap in our bag, like we're holding a bag with loads of rocks that we need to modality and somatically release, naturally it's going to lift us to a more expanded state. So it's like, yes, we have multiple timelines, and how we access our quote unquote highest and purest timeline is really the present moment. And what can we do now to access our power? What can we do now to trust? What can we do now to open our hearts? What can we do now to experience more joy or more pleasure? It's really all the present that gives us the power to the highest timelines. And it's been very fascinating journey to witness when I connect with people who aren't very, aware of energy and the limited kind of timelines, unless they get on board and start doing the modalities, versus people who are already kind of like so aware and quantum leaping and like connected, and how many timelines there are. It's like, oh my God, it's kind of incomprehensible, like how many there are. But yeah, it's really beautiful to witness, because my guides, from connecting so many guides, I've really just realized they want the best for humanity, and they want the best for each individual, of pleasure, of joy, of love. It's not as, it's very simple, and it's always through loving modalities. It's through self-love, it's through like self-care, it's through healthy eating, it's through connection, very important, intimacy, pleasure, joy, laughter. It's through these modalities that they show me for each person. I'm like, whoa, they really want the best for every human. And when we just give the best to ourselves and release the tar that's blocking giving ourselves the most love, we really access our quote unquote highest timeline.
Could you speak a bit to mental health? I've struggled with depression myself in my 20s, and I have a big heart for and empathy for others who do, because I know what it is about.
Mhm.
And it's like the opposite of life force, it felt like to me, where life just lost all colors. And then I
Mhm.
worked myself through it. This has been 20 years ago. Still, I can have days where it gets very dark. And I'm sharing it because I'm owning it. And now I don't judge it, I observe it more. But I still am curious about what happens, because everything Obviously, my surrounding could be okay, but it's not there where the issue is. But it just comes over me like a cloud. And I've
Mhm.
been wondering about, okay, it could be a thought form, it could be so many things, but still, like my internal state can completely change. And then it's like it can be released. And the
Mhm.
sun comes again, and I'm like, okay, now I'm back in business.
Yeah.
And I assume that other people are experiencing the same and still doing so much work. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually think, the more work you do, you can experience that because there's so many different answers to that. For some people it could be hormonal imbalance or not remembering we're cyclical. For some people it's really just feeling the ancestral line. Like it's a privilege, I think, to feel because I myself have gone through so much depression and in my path since awakening actually. And I really feel that is from, I'm very fascinated by ancestral work and how, your great 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 grandmother might have suppressed her emotions her entire lifetime. And, she has a seed, which is that daughter. And then that daughter has the seed for that daughter. And we're carrying the same seed that passes down the lineage. And so sometimes spirit is saying, like, you don't necessarily need to know where it's from, but it's like right now they're showing me it's like a bowl and it's like there's veins coming out of it, and it's like we are the source, and sometimes those veins are bringing in emotions that we don't know where they're from. So it could be a thought form, it could be from a past lifetime, it could be from your ancestral line of like not of feeling something. But I also want to bring awareness to, like, when we're in dark spaces, we don't have to, like I honor that, and I've experienced that like a lot, and it was a part of my journey, but I don't experience that anymore because I know what feeds my soul. And so a lot of the time, like, these modalities or the work isn't actually what's going to bring and lift that. So for example, I always say it's really the medicine is in the sacral chakra. So no matter where it comes from or how it's feeling, it's really empathizing with yourself, because I understand that. But there are some beautiful modalities. And for me, for example, I love painting. Painting is the first thing that I really experienced of like, oh, this feels like home. It could be music, learning the guitar, it could be drawing, it could be cooking. Trying to find things in your daily life that can bring you that pleasure. I've also really worked beautifully with cacao, which is like ceremonial cacao that really opens the heart. It used to be the currency exchange before gold, before money. They called it the food of the gods because when you consumed cacao, your heart would open so much that you would quote unquote feel God and feel source. And also it's acknowledging, a lot of spiritual people and just anyone in general, like, we've come from source, which is like the most loving, expansive place ever. And we've come to earth, which is, again, is beautiful, but it's a very different frequency. And so naturally it's a very dense planet, and we can experience that because it's like deep down on a cellular level kind of missing that source. But then when we remember that source is within us, we find the modalities or the hobbies, that's probably a better word, to heal and to soothe that. So it's not about resisting it and pushing it away. In fact, my friends call me such a crybaby because I welcome tears, I welcome emotions, and I welcome feeling. And I think it's bloody beautiful that we have a privilege to feel, because our ancestors couldn't feel. They really had to block it all out and just get on with life because it was such a strict, contracted time. Whereas now we're moving into a time where people are feeling, emotional bodies are cracking open and awakening up. And that wasn't the case not even 200 years ago on this planet. Like, people were really locked down. So it's like giving yourself credit that none of our ancestors could feel anything, and we're at a time where we're allowed to feel that. And so it's welcoming it in and knowing that nothing has gone necessarily wrong, and how can we hold ourselves, how can we carry ourselves with love. And for me, again, like sharing that has just been through finding hobbies. For people, it could be dancing. It's really finding the medicine for your soul and what that looks like for you. If it's rose picking, flower picking, and connecting and praying to the rose, if it's just inviting whatever warms your heart. I even have noticed a lot of calls lately, their guides are telling them to watch more comedy shows and comedy movies. So like, I'll send them like Impractical Jokers or like Steven Shapiro or these YouTube channels that just like make you laugh. And I remember at a point where I was moving out of that time because I don't experience that anymore. The depression, they made me watch 20 minutes of a comedy show every day. So I was watching Impractical Jokers every day for like 20 minutes a day, and it healed me. And it's not the way we would think. So it's like when I say doing the modalities, it can be anything but quote unquote the spiritual tools, you know, because I think they only get you so far until you really have to start living, you know, through surfing, through whatever it is you want to do. That has been a beautiful healer for me. And I've noticed that for a lot of people's readings, it's really what their guides are wanting them to do, is the access point to their soul and that juice. They always show it to me like orange juice, like this like orange juice, this bright citrusy juice within our body that we want to access, because like orange juice is zesty and it's citrusy and it's like, ooh, it's that's what's within us, and that's what they show me like combats those emotions to make it a bit brighter, which is like the sun. Yeah.
To watch the full video, click the link below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel.